Welcome, everybody. We're very excited to have everyone on this very special episode of Performance Parakone. We're here at the Pinnacle Bank Championship at the Indian Creek Golf Course. Very exciting here at the 17th hole. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to shoot our coolest podcast yet. So I'm excited to just quickly introduce our guests today. We have Mike Agostino with Nash, and then we have Scott Henderson with NMotion through Generator. So today we're really going to be focusing in on this community here at Pinnacle Bank. I think a lot of people at the championship, I mean, it's a golf event, but it's really cool to see how this community has come together to make this possible. So especially with her dad, let me give another shout out to her dad. Thank you for these amazing headphones that we're recording this podcast with, and the podcast in general. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, and so thank you so much to her dad. So kind of hopping into this, I do want to provide some context as to why we're here too. So Tony, he's the director of the Barrientos Scholarship Foundation. What we've had the opportunity to do is he met Chris last year here at this event, and I just want him to give a quick introduction as to what brought us all here together.
Thanks, Marcos. I really appreciate the introduction. You know, I totally believe in God, serendipity, and kind of things happen for a reason. Really was enjoying the golf tournament on 17th hole here, and her dad actually sponsors also Supernovas, who my family actually is a part of that organization. And so it's kind of a mutual relational piece. So I just got in a conversation, and they go, hey, you should probably meet this guy over here. And that guy was Chris Gorman. Super cool. Found out Chris loves boxing, right? Loves it. Actually does some training on the side. And I said, hey, I'd love to introduce you to some friends of mine. Grover Wiley, who is an ex-professional, and actually fought Julio Cesar Chavez. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, would you like to get punched in the head by Julio a fighter who fought Julio Cesar? And he's like, I'd love it. So actually I have video of it, and but we've built a friendship, a relationship, and I told him what we were doing in the community, and he goes, we need to tell that story. And so really that comes to today, and with your guys' help, I really appreciate you guys allowing this venue to happen. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so if you are here for the first time, you know, we're really trying to touch on how we can create a bridge between the Latino community, specifically the students and the parents and our sponsors, our partners, people in the community that are offering positions and new opportunities for Latinos. So something today we're really excited to touch on is more so healthcare and entrepreneurship. We think that healthcare is really important for our community, especially in creating wealth, but also entrepreneurship, creating your own businesses. Latinos are really big into creating small businesses, but we're going to go ahead and start with Scott, because I think something that the Latino community isn't as involved with yet, which we're going to help kind of get them more involved, is that high growth startup atmosphere. So could you give us a little background on just NMotion, what brought you here?
Yeah, so I found out about NMotion 11 years ago when it was started. It started in Lincoln, and a friend of mine from college actually was in the very first group of companies I was invested in. So nice. I got to see, I was at the time in Indiana, and then I went to Boston, and I was in Atlanta working in the entrepreneurial space. Yeah. And I was excited to see that there's this thing called a startup accelerator being created in Nebraska.
Cool.
And what that means is there's people that pull together investors to create a fund, right? And then you reach out to companies that might have already started generating revenue, might have an idea that's pre-revenue, but it has the potential of becoming over 10 years like $1 billion company. Wow! You know, you're going from 0 to $1 billion. Very aspirational,
high growth.
Those are rocket ships, right?
Yeah.
And most rocket ships explode.
True.
Right?
True.
So it's a high-risk environment. But you're pushing the bounds, trying to create solving problems, because there's new technologies that have come up, or maybe new insights, or someone who's overlooked a problem. Mm-hmm. And so it does take risk, but it also takes patient, capital, people who put money in, who understand you have to place a lot of bets, and some of them work. But in that process, and if you think about the space program, it's all about learning. So you're even if you don't succeed, if your rocket ship doesn't even get off the ground, you've learned something.
Right.
And we're watching that right now with SpaceX and all the other rocket companies that are in Blue Origin. They're testing and pushing the bounds of what is possible. Right. And that's really what NMotion, from a metaphor perspective, has been doing for 11 years. We've helped invested in over 100 companies.
Wow.
And about 34 of them have raised follow-on funds from us. Because it's so early, we're helping them get their customers. They're helping them get their revenues. That money is being reinvested in the company.
Okay.
So we know it's going to take 18 to 24 months before that cash flow is actually going to be positive. So we have this big debt, negative curve that happens, and that's very scary, right?
Of course.
So. But I think really what we're looking for is how our program is 12 weeks focused on connecting connecting these founders to mentors. We do a speed mentoring program called Mentor Swarms. We're getting them coaching on a weekly basis. We're meeting with them one-to-one, but also getting the group. We invest at 6 companies at a time.
Okay.
And so we help those 6 kind of move together for like if you're training for a marathon, it's always easier to train with somebody else.
Yeah.
And you can exchange kind of if you're getting kicked in the face by the market and someone sees success, you can feel their success while you're still hurting from getting kicked in the face. And, but so that's what we work with them over 12 weeks. We're helping them grow, figure out ways to grow revenue. And then not only are we connecting them to mentors and customers, but at the very end of the program, we introduce them and they pitch to 50 early stage investors. And that gives them a chance to get on their radar. Yeah. And interestingly enough, the folks who invest in us, we raised a fund. It's called the Generator Great Plains Fund. Okay. And we have $4.2 million that is being matched through Invest Nebraska with $1.8 million into 36 companies that we collectively will do $100,000 times 36. Plus, we have money to do some follow-on investments this time around. Very cool. One of our investors is Pinnacle Bank, so it's great to have this be at the Pinnacle Bank Championship. So
Pinnacle Bank,
yeah, exactly.
Championship Sunday,
and we have a wide variety of investors and companies and foundations who see the value of the economic energy this has created. Just like immigrant populations coming in, bringing in a new energy. This is the same concept of entrepreneurship. It's how do I come in and solve problems for myself? Right.
Kind of adding on to that, I mean, you talk about the rocket ships blowing up, a lot of the times. I think when we look at the Latino community, the students the families are working day to day. I mean, I think it's like something where there might be a fear, in the Latino community to jump onto something where they're like, I'm bringing my whole family with me. I don't know if we all want to blow up on this rocket ship, But I don't know. I mean, that's obviously creates more fear. So the thing is, we want to start develop that conversation of like, how do we get Latinos to invest into these companies to start creating more change?
Well, I mean, look at the goal. Right. The goal is to create a company that's so large that is creating $100 million in annual revenues. Who wouldn't want to own a company or own an equity stake in a company? Right. And then ultimately, the way that this high growth startup space works is someone comes along and purchases the company for a very large wealth creating opportunity. So, this is about generational wealth creation. Yeah. And not everyone needs to do it. I mean, my family, my mom's side, Polish, the Nowaczyks, 39th and S Street. My grandfather worked in the packing plant. Yeah. My grandma, she had her beauty salon in the house, and would sell crafts and stuff like that. Right. Very entrepreneurial energy that she had. Love that. But I think I didn't appreciate till later in my life that when I graduated from college, I was the 3rd grandchild to go to college and graduate, and I was also the very first to get a graduate degree. Okay. And I didn't realize why my grandma and grandpa came down to the floor of the Civic Auditorium during my MBA graduation to hug me. Yeah. Because that was the dream. That's why they put the energy towards work in the packing plant, work in the post office. My grandfather did as well. And so, I look at it and like we have entrepreneurial energy in that family, already. But now I just don't think there was an awareness of you can actually do this high growth stuff. Right. Because to your point, it's risk aversion. We've put so much into getting here, and we're just establishing ourselves. Why would we bet? Why would we take it to the casino? Yeah. Yeah. So but the key here is not everyone needs to do this.
100%.
But there are great talented people in every community. I mean, Generator's whole mission is to help the best and brightest in every community we work with build the companies they want to build right there. And so this is, and frankly, this is an interesting thing Tony and I have been talking a lot about, because despite the growth of the Latino and Hispanic population in the state of Nebraska, and despite our efforts to reach out and try to find great people and to get more applications, we struggle to get a percentage of applications that reflects the percentage of the population that Hispanics. We do great with black founders. We do great with women founders compared to our peers. Our peers, now, women and other overlooked communities have the same thing. There's a risk tolerance that's a little bit different, but also the social expectations put on them.
Right.
So they're not the same problem, but they're similar problems.
Correct.
And I think that it's the key is this mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, already exists within the Latino population.
100%.
Already creating constructions and trade companies and insurance companies, and now more folks going to college and taking the professional service path and becoming lawyers and doctors. And that's great. You want that. You want to have all these things, because you have to have a diversity of businesses and professions and ways to make money. And then because of that, then you'll have, here's the interesting opportunity. How do we find folks who are making money through traditional means that have extra cash to make that cash available, and find some of the people who in this community that have the ability to build big companies, and you can invest in them and help them.
Right.
Because that's what we've been doing in Nebraska for the last 15 years in a conservative effort for a lot of folks, and it works.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies, a good chunk of companies that have been invested in and built and sold and created a great amount of wealth for other folks. So why not do it on both sides of the table?
Scott, you and I met at another event that was related around entrepreneurship, and it was kind of a cool event. But the question was asked, that we don't have representation in this space. What is it going to take, right? And I think you said a word, opportunity, was so significant, and I think trust is another word that we need to throw out there as well. How do we build up those two things to communicate opportunity to that community, right? Because a level of trust has to be gained to start these relationships. And to go back, I'm going to try to pull it all in here with who I think NMotion Generator is it's kind of with a twist. You do something a little bit different with a twist, and that twist, I think, is your mentorship, your coaching that you provide, that educational piece, and that's the level of trust I think that's going to be gained. Is like, hey, we're not only here because everyone understands what venture capitalist is, right? But if you have a support system that says, hey, that's not so risky anymore. We're going to coach you along the way. Can you speak about the twist piece a little bit? And I think that's your unique differentiator.
I think that's exactly what makes us different. We're for context, I've been back in Nebraska for 4 years. Of the 100 companies, I've been involved with almost half of them. We're going to make another announcement in a couple weeks for another 6. And so that means I'll have the majority of NMotion history. I've had the responsibility for recruitment. Right. We have about a third of our companies through our female founder driven. And about closer to 40% is founders of color. Right. And so I've been able to work directly with folks who have different lived experiences, and the mentorship aspect, the coaching aspect, where we're rolling up our sleeves and understanding what they're going through, isn't just on the business side. It's also on the emotional and social side. Having conversations. One of my first investments is wellcap.com, which is a wig and hair extension rental company that's in Atlanta, Georgia. Shante Frazier was an MBA graduate from Stern NYU and working for PwC, making 6 figures, and single mom, African American woman who left that job to create a company. Wow! And her aunt and her mom said, "You left that to start a wig company?" Right? But there's a lot of expectations of difference. So, but being able to be in the fray and to be there for that founder, these are human beings. These are emotional meat bags that we are. They're dealing with all the expectations, all the risks, right? And here's a chance for us to connect them to people, mentors, and our team who can say, okay, I hear you, I feel what you're sharing with me, and here's how we're going to help you, right?
Yeah.
And you're not in it alone. And that's I think the biggest advantage for people coming through NMotion is you're joining a network of a relationship network, a trust, and people who have been through it before, from different sectors, from different industries, but they can at least help connect you to what you need.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think that's a great segue point. We're talking about a twist. I really, what you guys are offering here at Nash, Network of Advanced Specialty Healthcare. I know your background's in pharmacy. A lot of times Latinos, the first thing they think of is I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a nurse, right? But you guys offer a very unique, experience and tool resource. So could you give us a little rundown?
Yeah, I mean, my whole experience in healthcare, now if I look back 32 years, it's always been about taking that opportunity where there was a fragmentation, where there was redundancy, where there was just a gaping hole of just quality patient services at a reasonable price. And I've been blessed to have that sort of, passion, if you would, and that's what's kept me really focused in that area. So when people say, "Oh, you're a pharmacist," I was behind the counter a year in my whole career, but I really got to explore where these opportunities are, and so now with Nash, Network of Advanced Specialty Healthcare, the timing that I see is such that the economics around healthcare are getting to the border of catastrophic.
Right.
And I'll give you some examples. So if as a business leader, owner, more than likely you're looking at your financial statements on a monthly basis.
Right.
And you're certainly looking at your top line, but you're looking at, okay, by golly, what am I spending money on? And typically the largest dollar amount is your payroll. And 99% of the time it'll be health benefits. And what has happened here over the course of just these last 2 years, literally, that expenditure for healthcare for employees is starting to exceed payroll. That's a problem. And so you say to yourself, okay, well, what's the end game here and what's really driving that?
Right.
There are so many reasons we actually could do another podcast, but the reality is we capitalize on the areas by way of which we can make impact.
Right.
So my other companies in healthcare, I often would get kicked in the shin about cost and control. Even though we did a great job, there's some outliers that I could never control. It is what it is. The cost of a medication is this, and I didn't negotiate that, but I'm doing my best to make sure that the right patient at the right time is on that medication, and at the end of the day, that's really what you want.
Right.
So anyway, fast forward to today's model, Network of Advanced Specialty Healthcare, I saw something that was completely different, and basically travel for treatment. And in summary, it's not medical tourism.
Okay.
Here's where I'm most proud of is that myself and my leadership team, we share the same mindset that we had to do something different, which is number one, paramount. We're all aligned. The second is we found ways of which to access healthcare in a very safe way, affordable way, with actually the same, if not better, health outcomes that we find in the States. Okay.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. If we just check the boxes on all of those, we have something here.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward. So today we have two American accredited, this is called JCO, called JCI, Joint Commission International, accredited hospitals in Mexico, one in northern Cancun and one in Monterrey, Mexico.
Okay.
There's only 9 in the country of Mexico. We have partners with 2 of them.
Nice.
And within those facilities, we offer a variety of services. We focus on dispensing high-cost specialty medications that are incredibly expensive. Scott and I were just chatting earlier, I'll just give you a quick stat. But if you look at the overall consumption of medications in the United States today, 2% of everyone consuming a medication equals 60% of the cost. So just think about that.
Isn't that mind-blowing?
2% equals 60% of the cost. And actually, 60 is going to turn into 65 here real soon because, thankfully, we're coming up with medications that are so sophisticated but so targeted that the patient population gets smaller. It's very laser-like, right? I mean, today, right now, we talk about maintenance medications in cancer, where 10 years ago, it's not that much of a favorable outcome. We have maintenance medications in HIV. I mean, we just have some profound therapies out there. The thing is the development pipeline of medications coming out are focusing more on that. So with that, we stay focused on that. We also offer other services as well, but including medical procedures, orthopedics, bariatrics, plastics. And so when Tony and I were talking, Tony knows exactly where I'm past Scott's model.
Okay.
So now we thankfully, we're on the run rate of growth.
Okay.
And but so with growth, what happens with growth? You need great people. Okay?
Yes, sir.
That's it. You need great people who's bought into your culture, and you treat them great, and then it's not quantum physics here.
Right.
That's what we want. But the thing is too, we're also touching a lot of people in other parts of the country, especially in Mexico. So to have that hunger to want to have a great job in a great place, potentially bilingual, it's amazing what, even at entry level, what we can train someone to do. Marcos, to your point, I don't need to hire a doctor right now. I actually have plenty of them. I have over 20 of them. So we're good there. But the thing is, I need individuals who are just so passionate about taking care of people,
Right.
wanting just to talk to people, remember people's birthdays, remember that they need their medications refilled, and
Right.
actually create just a connection. Because in healthcare, that's a big part that got lost.
100%.
So we also create that connectivity, which allows for the stickiness of people who want to use our service model. So at the end of the day, in chatting with Tony, I think it's an awesome collaboration that we're just starting to develop. And Tony amplified what I already learned, which is it's about trust. When I went down to Mexico, I'm Italian, and you could tell. So when I go down there, what's the first thing I have to do? We have to trust each other.
Right.
So let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
And thank God I had that foresight. I learned that from my parents. I'm first generation too, by the way.
Nice.
And so, just learning the scrappiness of doing the right thing for me was an important part of my DNA, and I'm very thankful for that. But that level of trust is something that Tony and you and the rest of the team are helping me getting more involved with our own community here. And I'll end it with this.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, my entire staff down in Mexico, shocked. What? How? There's a big Latino community in Omaha? I'm like, you have no idea. It's massive, right?
Yeah.
And so they're getting fired up. Now they're ready to come back up here and start talking to folks too, which we'll figure that out.
Right.
Yeah. So.
You talk about that. The Cinco de Mayo Festival is something that we do annually. 250,000 people coming through, not only from Nebraska, from surrounding states. You start to ask this question of we need those people. They're right there, in our community. They're walking around right there. And so I think that's why we're trying to get more people in to come see our community and realize these people are looking for a job right now, walking down the street with their family, and again, a lot of times it is that family decision. And so, we're really excited to try to bring these new conversations in. And my mom, when I was growing up, she was like, you're going to be an engineer, you're going to be a doctor. And I was like, those are pretty cool. They're not bad. But I was like, what if I want to create the generational wealth so that my kids and the next people don't have to have this ultimatum of only doing a couple things. These things like high growth startups and being involved with, I would say probably the future of healthcare is something where I would like to show this Latino community more.
Well, and it's a both and. It's not an either or, right?
Right.
So, when I was at Purdue University running their entrepreneurial programs, I went to a talk of one of the founders of a company called Xiaomi, which is a huge Internet of Things company coming out of China. 7 of the 11 founders came out of Purdue, so they came back to say. And his advice was to the students in the room, if you want to get into startups, this was his advice, go join a big company. Go get a company or a company that's on a growth path like Nash is, and be part of a larger organization to understand what it takes to operate at scale.
Right.
When you have so many people, what's the internal processes and systems, but also notice how slow they are to solve problems.
Yep.
We're on a pontoon boat right now, and if we really wanted to rev it, we could.
We could.
It can move faster than the cruise ship. You're on a cruise ship. I just got back from an Alaska cruise, and literally, no one cared if the Zumba class happened that day because we're still going to get to port, right? But you get out here in a rowboat, and you're not rowing, forget about it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think what you have an opportunity with companies like Nash is to be exposed to this environment of, hey, we're solving something in a different new way, because entrepreneurship whether you are and take it to the business world or the nonprofit world or the government world or a traditional trade company, trade businesses, it's about being curious and observing problems that aren't being solved and things that are keeping people from solving them faster and better, and then going up and solving it.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think if there's three things I'd say you should do is, this comes from Paul Graham, who's the guy who started Y Combinator, which is the biggest and most successful startup accelerator. You have to be curious. You have to be insatiably curious about problems in the world.
Write that down.
Right? So 2, you have to then learn as much as you can about areas that of interest that you have and what the problems are and why they exist. And also learn about the technologies that can solve that. So you get really good at understanding the technologies. And then 3 is find other people that you could do it with, that you love being with, and that you're inspired, and that have different talent sets. So, if I'm a parent, which I am, I have a 23-year-old son, and I look at it, what I want him to do is create portfolios of things that he's built with people. Yeah, because I think if and whether he does that in political campaigns, he does that for he's got a journalism degree here in December in media, or he's going to go create his own company. I want him to be building stuff with people. And you can do that in large corporations. You can do that in government jobs. You can do it in nonprofit space. You can do it in traditional businesses. But then be observant of what people aren't able to solve in effective ways. And then where's the opportunity? Like you're solving something right there.
Yeah, that's 100% it. I mean, we're solving the issue of cost and access. We really are. And come to find out now, there's more and more people, patients, who cannot get these important therapies because of costs.
Yep.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we have this opportunity to offer a medication for a very complex condition at literally starting at half the cost. Same manufacturer, same box, same everything. It's just that we've got to figure out a different channel on how to do that.
Yeah.
And that part we're incredibly excited about. And thankfully for us, we have hit the market just at the right time, because of the frustrated level of an employer group who's funding their own bill to pay for health benefits for their employees.
Wow.
Almost 80% of all employer groups today, this is a big shift by the way, are self-insured. So they're at risk for everything related to medical. That's just how it works. Mind you, there's great tax incentives to be that, but there's always a risk of a catastrophic claim coming through the system that could really bring down a company.
Well, and here in Nebraska, we're very fortunate to have a lot of entry points into the community of technology or businesses that are trying to create new solutions. Intern Nebraska, which is powered by the Exarban Foundation, a sibling of Nebraska Technology Collaborative, Tech Collaborative,
And a sponsor of ours, by the way.
which is, saw Shauna Dorsey on my way here to the boat, and
Big shout out to Shauna.
Yeah, big shout out. They're doing great work with a lot of great partners. I know Shauna had her background is fascinating with having created a coding school, and then joined Mutual of Omaha, and now is helping connect across the state students from all corners of the state to the opportunities within big companies and within startup companies. And the Intern Nebraska program is a great way to get exposed into these cultures of opportunity. There's also SiliconPrairieNews.com, which is a great publication that is focused on the startup community here. It's been around for about 12, 13 years, and recently revived and re-energized. There's a week-long celebration called Silicon Prairie Startup Week in November 11th to the 16th. It'll start in Lincoln, and Monday, Tuesday with events. Our company that we're going to be investing in will be showcased that night. And there's going to be great opportunities day and night in both Omaha and Lincoln for people to get connected.
Perfect.
We're putting together a 10-hour challenge hackathon, which is another opportunity. Look for gatherings of where people get a weekend and try to solve problems together. We're going to be putting stuff out around artificial intelligence and challenge with specific challenges for people to do. And and there's things called Startup Weekend. There's other things that you can go to find the people. I just was at yesterday. I was at Bar Camp Omaha, which is not bars and drinking. It was it's a long story why they named it there.
Facebook stuff on that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an unconference, meaning you show up and then you pitch ideas around maker, technology, design, or kitchen sink stuff.
Okay.
So I gave a talk on bees, bucha, and bread. how to tend to culture, right?
Yeah, I like that.
And it was a variety. I mean, it was user generated. Like the attendees showed up and did this, and I got to meet people from across Nebraska who gathered one day to do these things. So this is how, if you go back to being curious and finding other curious people and learning, you got to go find these social learning events. There's meetups. The Mikasa Sukasa event on Friday was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Because what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to increase the surface area of luck.
Yeah.
That's really what this is, right?
Right.
How do I run into a guy?
Yep.
How do I show up to an event in Supermercado having samples and around what you guys did, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then really it turns into a relationship.
It does.
I think that's probably one of the hardest parts is just knowing that they're there.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if you're new to your career or just starting to get into the workforce. It's like, how do we even figure this out? And I mean, I hope I'm labeling this correctly, but like your incubator program makes total sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a wealth of knowledge, everybody you can lean on who's been there, done that, so to speak. And to give those different perspectives, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, awareness is big.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to Casa del Tour. So Cinco de Mayo is that biggest platform that we do, and really that is the tapestry of the landscape of really trying to get Omaha represented in that community, right?
Yeah.
And so you guys are saying it, but it's a together program. It's a really together program, and so awareness is the thing. That's the secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
If I don't know you exist, how can I connect with you? And getting people out of their paradigms of, hey, this is the way we've always done things.
Oh yeah, it's human nature. I mean,
That's the worst.
Look at it. Like I Polish family. I got Italian is in my family. You look at the Wilbur, the Czech capital of the world. There were a lot of immigrant ethnic enclaves that were created. And the free market system has to have a mutualism to it, right?
Right.
We're in it together. My grandmother was in a orphanage because her mom and dad divorced, and the mom left, and so but he was Swedish Lutheran, so he went into the Emmanuel. She went into the Emmanuel orphanage, and that was working together. I mean, we have it's the blueprints here.
Yeah.
I mean, my family has grown into what it has because of mutualism and because of free market.
I think that's Marcos. You brought this up earlier too, or maybe we talked about it, but I said it. I'll just share a feeling, which is, College World Series in Omaha is a big deal, right? I mean, you got 300,000 people that show up, and then Tony and you are telling me about Cinco de Mayo with around 250,000 people. I personally live 20 minutes outside of where it's held, 25 minutes, and I'm thinking to myself, how come I don't know about that?
Yeah.
So I think that we have to, maybe I'm challenging you guys, but how do we really think about getting some more tentacles just in our local community? I mean, and just to learn about the great work that you're doing here. This is all new to me. I mean, we're a couple months into this relationship, Tony, and I mean, I see great upside for both sides, and I frankly think it's God's work.
Well, Tony Goins, who was the state of Nebraska's Department of Economic Development director, he likes to say, relationships matter, and this matters, right? And then Robert Blackwell, who's from Chicago, who's building something called Quant 16.
Okay.
He says, just do business. We just got to do business.
Yeah.
Just do business with each other.
Yeah.
Because it's not charity. This is not about charity. This is about how do I do business with people in your community, and you do business with me.
Yeah.
Because that's the connectivity that has to happen.
100%.
Yeah, and because that's what the curiosity from both ends, our community and from the businesses that want to learn more about our community, right? I think there's conversations that have to be had to set up that foundation, like this one today, so that other people can understand that. Something that's, I think, pretty cool that as we kind of finish up this conversation, I kind of want to open up this, I think Latinos especially, I'll speak on my own behalf, like coming to like an event like Pinnacle Bank Championship, don't know much about golf, right? And Latinos are sometimes afraid to hop in these atmospheres where they're not typically seen, right? And I know for me, this was this really cool opportunity to talk to certain people here and make these connections. Like, I thought this was just like a golf tournament, right? And then I got to meet you guys. I've gotten to meet so many people, and so I think that's something I want to open up, especially to the Latino community, that these events that you're talking about, like the hackathon, are really important, but also coming out here and, like you said, just doing business, just talking to people at events like this, this networking, being curious about, I don't golf, I'm so curious to see how it works, right? And I think that's really important for developing these connections, is going to spaces where we typically aren't there.
Yeah.
And because this is where it all started with Tony and Chris meeting. Just they like golf.
Yep.
I don't think it really even started with the whole, like, we didn't come here to pitch anything. We were just coming to hang out and just find common interests. So whether the common interest is here somewhere, of course, like golf is like a big skill, or literally going to a hackathon because you guys are both interested in business, I can highly recommend that. As someone that's like not even from Omaha, like I am from Omaha, but haven't been in Omaha for a while, but I come here often, come every year. My family's here. I 100% vouch for all these events that are going on.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick and give
Yeah.
BSF a shout out here.
Yeah.
So part of the Casa de la Cultura umbrella, youth development is a big vertical for us. We're gonna build next year very specific spaces for young talent to come in and just see what it can look like to jump into a community, right? So we're working on funds for that. Mike, you were a big part of that, like seed money to get that going.
Our
So
pleasure.
we really appreciate that.
Thank
But
you.
it's showing the students and the talent what it looks like over there, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to go back to old ways and old habit, whatever. But what does it look like over there? And so we're literally have a relationship right now with UNL. We're going to expand it to all the universities. But student success programming, this community that we're going to create, that's going to be a feeder opportunity from healthcare, business entrepreneurship. We have partners in construction and trades. We're going to get to STEM and aviation. So that's why we're starting. 55% of our kids say, I want to go to UNL. So we're doing it on numbers. We're starting there, but we're going to expand and grow. I'll give a shout out to our golf tournament we're having September 13th. If you can go to our website, barrientoscholarship.org, and the registration's there. But yeah, we are making spaces for our kids just to introduce them to folks like you guys, of like what's out there.
Yeah.
Well, I think of Nebraska. When you think of Nebraska, you think of trees, right? Mm-hmm. Because this is the home of Arbor Day. We also had the largest human-planted forest before the fire took it out. But one of the phrases that my father said, something that sparked, and now it becomes a thing: great trees never grow alone. You think about it, you'll never see a tree growing by itself in the middle of nowhere that is huge. It is about great trees never grow alone. So we, first off, being aware of the fact that we're part of the same forest. Right? And if you look at the health of forests, the science of this is that you have this mycelium, the mushroom layer of the forest. It starts and creates this really great information network that creates awareness that can draw resources to and fro, mentorship, money, business opportunities. Think of it from that metaphor. But also the trees and their roots start to intertwine with them, so it becomes one big meta-organism.
Yeah.
A forest is a lot of individual trees and plants and animals that have come together as this community. And it starts with conversations like this, and we have to continue to build, and it layers over time. Silicon Valley is 75 years in the making. Nebraska has got about 15 years of intentional investment in high growth companies, thanks to the Business Innovation Act that was passed and Invest Nebraska. Companies like Nelnet and Lincoln Partnership Economic Development and the Lincoln Community Foundation, Union Bank and Trust, Pinnacle Bank, all these great executives of Mutual of Omaha, executives of Tenaska, and Sequence Health, all these individuals who have they're the oak trees. They know that if there's other great people that are solving problems. We have Oslo Health that is helping Spanish-speaking patients deal with their chronic diseases. We have a new company we'll be announcing that's bilingual in the construction trade world, which is exciting. And that's all it only is. Did I know that existed? No. But there are people who are in this community right now who see problems every day, could be the ones to solve it and create that generational wealth.
Well, I think we'd like to be seen as that conduit into the community, and I think that's what we're trying to create. The leader down there, Marcos Mora, is just he's a doer. He's not out there tooting his own horn. He's just doing. And hopefully we can help expand that. We will definitely be that conduit.
Add one thing. As I'm just listening, right, I'm learning a lot, which I love doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with that, I think about all these great opportunities of just bringing people together. But I also think about what's the other side of the equation, right? Is there any reciprocity that we should put on the side of the community?
Yeah.
And here's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And I mean this respectfully, which
100%.
is, can we help amplify the the feeling of step out of your comfort zone. No risk, no reward. Speak up. Ask a question. Don't be afraid. And I'll tell you, when I was at the event the other night, I walked in. Yes, I was the only guy with a sport jacket. I stood out, okay? But it's me.
It looked good.
But thank you.
It was beautiful.
But the thing is,
I don't know, Francisco had
Thank
one.
you.
I had one on too.
Well, okay. Anyway, the point being, gentlemen, is
I understand.
The only Italian with a sports
bingo,
jacket.
right. Thank you. And mind you, as I was there were individuals who had that mindset and came up to me and said, "Hi, who are you with?" And that was maybe about 6 to 8 individuals. They were outstanding, and they were very inquisitive, very curious. Oh my gosh, why are you here? You know, that type of thing. But it starts there.
Yeah.
So how do we get people to just in the community to at least try to lean on that mindset a little bit about speak up, ask, it's okay.
I love that idea of reciprocity, right? Yeah, you've been coming to Million Cups in Omaha, which is a Wednesday morning gathering at Millwork Commons, and Paul and Annette Smith with what they're doing on Millwork Commons is great at bringing people together through arts and culture and startups and stuff. I think that there's an opportunity for folks who are going to these events to then show up to other events. So it has to be give and take.
It has to.
And I think we can help make that happen.
Yeah.
Scott gave a shout out that Wednesday. He said, "Hey, they host a great party at Mikasa Sugasa. You need to go." And I think that produced like 10 new faces at our Mikasa event. So that was pretty cool.
And that's the thing about culture is it's not about big thing. It's a little bit here, a little bit here. You build. If you want to make change happen, you only need 5% of the people to say we're going to go in that direction, and other people will start going. So these activities that we're doing, the content you're creating, the events that you're hosting, the events, and the question is, this is a woman that I met in Atlanta. She was one of the co-founders of Singularity University, Susan Fonseca, and she a great Latino leader, and she said, look around you anytime you're at the table and say, who's missing from this table that we're trying to represent?
Yeah.
And let's go figure out who needs to be at this table. And that's the question we ask with our men. We always ask, hey, I don't want a bunch of white tech bros on my mentor swarms. I want to find people who have different lived experiences who can connect with my founders. Because it's amazing when you get Latino, Hispanic, or black or female founder showing up not only to mentor swarms with someone who looks like them, but also when you get to the investor side of things and they say, oh, I got you. It's that those connections matter.
Yeah,
I agree with 100%.
I think that's a great spot to kind of end this conversation here today. What I kind of want to leave is the reality is so Nebraska is still dealing with something like brain drain, right? I think the solution is perhaps something like this, right? I mean, like the Latino community, we have the numbers. I don't know. I feel like I just want to put that out there. We're here.
This is a hot button for me because brain drain is not the right idea. It's a talent flow.
Ooh,
you got to look for talent flow.
There you go.
We have great talent flowing through this state that's coming in from other communities, that are coming through our universities, that are coming because of off Air Force.
And leaving the state, too.
And so what we need to do, no one woke up this morning saying, I'm so upset with all the water that we lost on the Missouri River today.
Yeah.
No one did. All we do is, how did we create little eddies that allowed for more people to stick around?
Yeah.
You just need a little bit more, right? So how do we take this great talent flow and get a few more and a few more and a few more, and then pretty soon, exponential growth, now it's a majority of people do it.
I think I want to say one more thing about this community, this creating community. It's just having those more fun organic spaces like Mikasa's and Millworks and opening doors up. And I think we have a lot of smart people. Sometimes they run in silos a little bit. So the good question is, how do we create plug-in programs? And I think it's Millworks Commons. I think it's called Casa del Agricultor with Cinco de Mayo. Definitely sponsors and support through you and just awareness. You just said, hey, I didn't even know this existed before. Yeah. So I think I'd like to kick it back to you and talk about, because Chris Gorman, VP of Hurrdat Sports, said it's really weird that this is more than just a golf tournament. It's really about creating community. So I want to throw it back to you with that statement. It's really just engaging community.
Yeah, it's definitely engaging community, and we're wrapping up here because the boat time's over, unfortunately. But we would be here all day. But again, coming back to community, Pinnacle Bank Championship has given us this this beautiful day to have out here. Hurrdat has set up with the ability to communicate this to you guys.
Thanks for
Nash helping us here, and NMotion having this conversation. Again, community. This is all possible because of community. So again, thank you to Pinnacle Bank, to Her Dad, to Intern Nebraska, to Nash, to NMotion, to Casa, and thank you all of you for tuning into this, because the more people that listen, the more this word will get out there. So thank you. Thank you for tuning in.
We put a lot of ideas on the table. We have a lot of opportunities. We didn't cover, like, Nebraska Startup Academy got a great online program. You've got open office hours after a Million Cups, where a bunch of folks get together. So there's a lot of people that want to help and connect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So culture and community.
Omaha is like
Culture
the Ellis Island of the Midwest, right? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah,
that's
very true.
Spot on.
I also these people have some cool shoes on. I just want y'all to stick it out,
There you
just
go.
because shoe game's important. Kidding. All right, bye, y'all.